Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show, Huddersfield Town special. I'm your host, Stephen Downs, and today I'm with not Callum. It was supposed to be Callum, but an hour ago, Callum rang in sick, unfortunately. Get well soon, mate. And Zach Wood, our other normal Huddersfield Town correspondent. He is somewhere gallivanting across the globe like usual. 1 week he's in Belfast, the next week he's in Glasgow, and this time I think he's in Germany. So, guten Tag, Zach. If you're watching. And anyway, we've got the superb non-league specialist over here and all football guru, Louis Sale. Lou, cheers for jumping in at the last second. I know that you've got a Sunday roast on the go, mate. Cheers for jumping in.
Mate, it's all good. Good to join you. Nice, like last minute substitution on come Sale.
yeah, last minute. So, but what a super striker to bring on board. Obviously, I know I'm smiling now, but I wasn't smiling, 18 hours ago. I was very, very angry, Lou. Huddersfield Town drew 1-1 with Bristol City. And to be honest, the state of refereeing in this country is absolutely abysmal. Honestly shocking, mate. But I know you're going to be the sort of host to ask me the question, so I'll hand over to you as the supreme host, to be fair.
Nice little smooth segue there. Yeah, what did you think about that penalty decision, Steve? I mean, I've seen it, obviously seen the extended highlights of the game, but in being such a positive situation in that game, being 1-0 up, and then, that penalty decision, as controversial as it might appear, that's pretty gut-wrenching, isn't it, mate?
The thing is, right, so let's just give some context to this. The referee was Rebecca Walsh. Now, I want to say, first of all, with a big caveat of let's not have any misogyny, right, about women. I believe women should be in the men's game. I'm certainly not going to sit here and say Joey Barton's a fantastic person, because he's not. He's a waste of oxygen and air. But by that, apart from her being a woman, which has nothing to do with being a referee, her refereeing performance yesterday was disgusting, was genuinely disgraceful. Now, the penalty is not a penalty for a start off, but let's get some context, right? There's 5 minutes added on, Lou, at the end of the game. 5 minutes. The penalty is given in the 100th minute. I mean, do you know what I mean?
Was there anything supposed to be added on? Obviously, with that, we talk about the minimum, don't we? Have added minutes added on, but was there an incident towards the end of that half that warranted an extra 4 minutes added on?
Not really. There was 2 Town players that went down for a little bit of injury, and there was a substitution, but not to add extra 5 minutes on. I mean, you're talking a 45 seconds for a substitution. The 2 Town players, I think, who were down for no more than a minute, really. So I'll give her 2 minutes, but not 5 minutes. So the penalty should have never been given anyway because of the time that was given on the end of it. But for me, the actual decision is just a disgrace, because how is that a handball? Ollie Turton comes in to make the challenge, turns his back, so his arms are automatically facing the other way anyway, and it hits his body. You can tell it hits his body and just goes out. It should be a corner kick. Never a penalty. I mean, you're a neutral, so you might have a different view, but to me, that is one of the worst decisions I've seen in a long time in the Championship. And my God, we've discussed referees on this podcast quite frequently in the last couple of weeks.
I think, is it...
I know that you're finding my anger quite funny, but...
No, and I think what we're really interested in is looking at the reaction of the Bristol City players when the incident actually happened, Steve. I think there's only one, maybe two at a stretch who were appealing for that penalty. And I think, looking back in it, and, obviously, you've analysed that in a lot of detail, is that, it's not deliberate handball, is it? He's gone down to stop the cross, his arms across his body, and obviously the angle from what we're seeing is difficult to kind of, properly see, but there's not many people arguing that's a penalty either.
No, there's none. I don't see anybody on X or Facebook, any Bristol City fans that are really saying, I mean, they're delighted the fact that Nakiwell scored the win, and it had to be Naki, didn't it? Let's be honest. And when he stepped up, I said like that there is about 99% chance of Naki scoring this, and he did do because he's cool from the spot. But it was just the fact that it was in the 100th minute, and it was we got so close to a win that would. I mean, talking points here, Lou, at the bottom of the table, where 1 or 2 points could genuinely save any of these clubs. You know, the fact that Blackburn beat Leeds, which we can come on to the longer context about the teams that are down the bottom. But for Town, we went from being on 46 points to within 5 minutes being back to 43 points.
Yeah. It's massive in the context of the season, like you say, with Plymouth winning as well. And obviously Blackburn beating Leeds, you know, the pressure's really on in it now, Steve.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, get your comments in, guys. Please like and share the video. Mark is a regular correspondent, contributor to the show. Sorry, he said, to be fair, the pen was awarded in the 98th minute. Sorry, Mark, we're giving her 2 minutes off here. And there have been 3 minutes of stoppage, including a sub. Pen was a travesty, though. Yeah, I still don't agree with the time that was added on, to be honest. But that's your view, and that's my view, and that's what the podcast is all about. But you know, that penalty decision. I know there's 3 games left. We've got 3 games to still try and survive. But the context of that penalty being given could cost us £5.5 million in broadcast money. And God knows how much money in season tickets and commercial sales. I mean, I think, Lou, and I don't know what your opinion is, we've had quite I wouldn't say it's been a heated discussion in the WhatsApp group, but I think we kind of all agree to an extent. But to me now, referees should have to come out and explain the decisions that they're making. So Rebecca Walsh should come out after the game and explain why she's given that decision and sort of, you know, because it's all right. She's just in the referee's room and with the other linesmen, and they can talk about the decision. And she said to Andrea Breinreiter, they're not allowed to watch the replay. But surely she got home, watched that decision, and thought, I've absolutely balls that one up.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not too sure whether we want possibly referees to come out and almost have to, you know, account for themselves of every decision they've got. But I think there seems to be at the moment quite there's quite a few occasions happening every weekend where we're seeing decisions that are, you know, how can I put this? Referees are allowed to make mistakes like anybody else, like any player is on the pitch. I'm not saying that, but the thing is that some of these are affecting games, I think, and that's where it's hurting a lot of teams. I get your perspective in terms of, you know, kind of emotional as a Town fan, where you're going with, you know, the decision and how much it would cost. I think it's hard to say because across the season it's where you are, but then, you know, there's these odd decisions that can really hurt teams. I think the standard of the football across the pyramid is increased. I'm not too sure whether the refereeing standard has increased alongside that. I think some are potentially being maybe left behind. I think there's, you know, I've had instances in lower leagues where, you know, some referees are starting to go slightly power mad, which is beyond belief because, yes, we don't have a game without referees, but at the same time, you know, the product and what we're seeing, you know, weekly discussions on regional podcasts like ourselves to national to worldwide, you know, we're having to talk about referee decisions, and unfortunately that is the way football goes. But that one is obviously going to really hurt you guys. And I mean, I think, does it take, you know, how can I say this? The decision obviously really hurts Town, 100%. Does it make it even worse from a Town perspective as a group that it was Ollie Turton as well as being out for so long injured? It's taken a long time to get back, and that incident seems to happen to him.
I mean, I'm gutted for Ollie because, you know, before he got injured, he was playing really well, you know, at fullback, and he was one of the better performers in what was, again, you know, not a good team really. But he was definitely one of the standouts, and he was consistently putting in decent performances. And then for him to get that injury, which put him out for a number of months, then he came back, started training. I think he came on as a sub, and then he got a meniscus injury, and it's just like the lad's just had no luck. And then he comes back, came on yesterday, fans sang his name when he came on. I mean, we're talking about a player that's, he's not scored goals and he's not, but that's the sort of fan base that we are, where when a player goes through, some absolutely horrendous times, we get behind him. And the fans yesterday sang all his name when he came on. That must have given him, his chest must have been pumping out like mad, because how good he must have felt. And then for that decision to be robbed from him when he's not done anything wrong, the lad must have been heartbroken in the changing rooms, because all is one of these where he puts 100% effort in. You can never ever say that lad has never not tried. He might do bad things, and he might make mistakes, and he might not be the Trent Alexander-Arnold of this world or whatever as a fullback, but to have that decision in the first game back, I mean, that could put him back mentally, and I hope it doesn't, and I hope he comes back and we see him on the bench in the next game, or he gets a start. But yeah, he just needs to go away and forget about it, because I just felt so sorry for him that it happened to him. I was cross anyway that if it had happened to any of the players, but to happen to him, it just puts an extra, like you say, level of heartbreak on it. And the reason I say that referees, I think, need to come out and explain decisions is that, we've been on the end of some absolutely bad decisions now, Lou. I don't want to hark back to the playoff final against Forest, but again, the fact that I am. But the fact that John Moss didn't come out and explain the fact that he didn't give 2 penalties when VAR was there for him to use, is one of the biggest injustices I think a football club has faced in a footballing context for a couple of years now. Obviously, they want to bring VAR into the Championship. I know you don't like it anyway, so that to you will sound like an horrendous decision, won't it?
I mean, obviously, we'll reflect a bit more on the game, but yeah, I think in terms of this discussion, I mean, I was all for VAR. I'll absolutely put my hands up. I thought it would help the situation. I thought it would help eradicate some of the decisions that we've seen in the past. But I just don't think it's working, and I don't think I'm going to be the only one who's listening and watching this podcast who feels the same. And I do worry that, we've seen, I believe, in my opinion, I've seen some decisions where they give it and then it goes to VAR, and it just doesn't seem to match up. It doesn't seem to be aligned. And I think there's, the thing is, there's too much money in the game. Well, I say too much money. There's that much money in the game that it's almost like it's hard to get rid of it. It seems like it's here to stay, which I think is not going to be beneficial to the game. But I think for you guys, it's how far do we go? I already think it's unfair in the respect that it's only at the top level. There's teams in the top level who are getting it at home games in cup competitions, whereas if you're the EFL team, you're not getting it in your games if you're out at home. I don't see the fairness in that whatsoever, because already on the back of that, we talk about VAR potentially not working as it should do. But then when you do have it, it's almost a comfort blanket for some teams. I disagree with it. I really do at the moment. And I think it's, I won't go as far as it's ruining the game, but it's really affecting the way the game is being played across the levels. But I think from your perspective, again, if you look at that in isolation yesterday, that handball situation, does that get overturned by VAR? What's crazy it sounds, and I don't think it's a penalty. I actually think that penalty still stands the way that the system's working at the moment.
Yeah, because look at Bournemouth yesterday. I mean, I don't think that was a handball at Bournemouth. I mean, VAR didn't even look at it. That's. I mean, you talk about you talk about the situation that was in Dortmund, where the penalty was given, they scored it, and then VAR came in and said, "No, we're not allowing that." I mean, that to me is just. And you talk about the money in the game. How can we have so much millions and billions of pounds in this game, and they can't get a thing like VAR correct? It just boggles my mind.
Pardon the pun, but it's just moving the goalpost in it, and it's really frustrating. But thanks again for everyone tuning in. It's a Town Talk, bit of a Town special, reflecting on yesterday's unfortunate Town draw in the last minute against Bristol City. interesting comment there from Max. As a fan base, we feel like we've been going through the motions. Hopefully that injustice gets everyone up for these next 2 home games. It's a really fair point that Steve as well, and Mark again, game management not being good enough across the season. Too many goals conceded late in the game, 27 points lost from winning positions. How frustrating is this situation, Steve? Because obviously we are at the absolute business end of the season. We spoke about in our Monday review about the Preston and Bristol City games that have coming up, where the potential might be winnable, where you think you might get 3 points and you've come away with 1. Teams around you winning. Let's be honest, how desperate is it at the moment for Town to get a win in the next 2 games?
Well, I think we've got to win both our home games. I think we have to. Like, you look at the game yesterday. I thought we played better yesterday than what we have for a number of matches, really. There wasn't again a lot of chance creation, but what we did have is a lot of guts and effort yesterday, and that was good to go forward. And when we got the goal, obviously we got the goal, and then what happened. But I was a bit dismayed that Andre didn't chuck any subs on earlier. He seems to have this thing about like literally getting to the end of the tether and then thinking, "Oh, I need to make some subs. I need to do something." I just do it earlier, mate. Do it 10 minutes.
Is that a concern for you, mate?
Yeah, slightly, yeah, because it's very reactionary. So he'll chuck Healy on. He chucked him on like 77th minute when nothing happened between the 70th and 77th minute. So why didn't he just put it on in the 70th minute? Give the lad 20 minutes rather than 10 minutes to make an impact. So that's a bit of a concern. I still believe in Andre as a manager because I think over the longer term, whether we go down or we stay up, I think he will implement a style of play with players that hopefully he can get in. Obviously, if we go down, that will be more difficult. But so again, it wasn't the greatest of performances, but results mean anything now, and if we'd have got over the line with a win, I don't really care. Like if we play well or we don't play well, I just want points on the board. And like these next 2 home games, Swansea and then Birmingham, I mean, they're both massive now. I think if we'd have won yesterday, the pressure would have been less on them. Like the pressure would have been still big because of obviously the Plymouth beating Leicester, which is, if you'd have said to me Friday afternoon, Plymouth will beat Leicester, Blackburn will beat Leeds, Millwall will beat Cardiff, and Town will nearly win at Bristol, but draw in the last minute to a dodgy, absolutely pathetic penalty, I'd have said, nah, there's no chance. Not in a hope in hell that all them results are going to go. And Birmingham won 3-0. So if you just sat there and said, all these results are going to go against you and you're going to be heartbroken by a penalty in the 100th minute, I'd have honestly told you to go put a bet on because you'd have won millions. Because I just don't believe that would have happened. And the scary thing is, Lou, we're not getting any other results going our favour. Like every week we're talking about, Millwall winning, like beating Leicester, Plymouth winning Leicester. Does anybody want to go up in this division? Don't look like it, does it?
I think this is a thing in it, and I think you're 100%. You're 100% right there. I think with the results that have happened, I mean, like you say, you wouldn't have predicted Birmingham to beat Coventry 3-0, would you at all? And I think this is where, ironically, we do talk even about the top of the table in our Monday reviews, but it's just so desperate for the teams at the bottom where, you're almost within a point of about 2 or 3 teams, and all of a sudden you find yourself 3 points behind. I mean, looking back at the game, Steve, I've watched highlights of it. I'll be honest, I've not seen all of it, but you've had moments. Radoni's had a couple of chances, hasn't he, as well? It's big moments in games like this where, you probably do need a result, ironically, that Birmingham got to see you through, don't you?
Yeah, and that's it, Lou. Like, we did have moments, and we're not putting them moments away. Karoma had a number of moments in the home game the other week against Millwall. Didn't put his chances away, but Healy scores in the last minute. So those moments are instantly forgotten. Well, that's been the case all season. We are down there because of the mistakes that have been made at both board level and at pitch level. and that's obvious. So I'm not going to blame everything on Rebecca Walsh. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, we're 23rd in the table because Rebecca, has made us lose so many games." I mean, arguably, Lou. In fact, we haven't lost that many games, which is unbelievable. We've drawn
17.
I don't know the official stat, but I really. But I really hope somebody can work out whether if we go down, we must be one of the teams with the lowest loss record, ever, because we've not lost that many games. We've drawn far too many, mostly under Darren Moore, who should have only had about 2 games in charge. But that's the problem with Andre's teams, that you either go on and you lose big, like we did at Preston, or you win games. We're not going to draw many under Andre. Definitely not. Swansea, I'm hoping they're on the beach next week, if I'm honest. But, and to be fair, Bristol, right, they went and beat Blackburn 5-0. They didn't look like a team that could beat anybody 5-0 when I watched them. They didn't look that great. I mean, we caught them on the right week, to be fair. But I can see why they are where they are in the table, because they're not that amazing, but they're not terrible either.
I think, like you say, you're spot on there. I'm just looking at the table myself here, and yourselves at Town, you've lost 17, drawn 17, won 9. In terms of your losses of 17, you're looking at the next, Cardiff, who were 11th, have lost 20. Middlesbrough have lost 16. So, like you say, that's where it really does stand out in terms of the goal difference as well, Steve. Looking at it, you 5 or 7 goals away from Stoke and Birmingham, who are above you. Obviously, sometimes a goal difference can almost equate to a point. Is that a little bit of a concern as well?
Yeah, that is a concern. Like I said, Birmingham have a better goal difference. I think there's only Wednesday that don't. I'm discounting Rotherham, by the way, because obviously they're already relegated.
Yeah.
But I think Wednesday are the ones that have a worse goal difference. This is why the Birmingham game particularly is so important. And you know what, Lou? I mean, you might not know this, but back in 2001, Town got relegated from the Championship to Division 1 at the time, on the back of losing to Birmingham and 4 other results going the way of other teams at the bottom. I can't sit here, and I mean, I was only 5 in 2001. I didn't support Town back then. But for a lot of supporters, they can't have that situation happen again. That's mentally, that will just be mentally so draining for a lot of supporters. Might be the last straw for some of them, because for 30 years on or 20 years on, 25 years on, have the same impact that what it did into. And the thing in 2001 is we ended up going down again to Division 2. And that we obviously did get back promoted at the first attempt. But, it can destroy, a lot of things in a football club when you get relegated.
Yeah.
The Premier League was bad enough. The Premier League was bad enough because we were so disorganised as a football club when we came down back to this division. We did well, actually, and we have done well to sort of absolute chaos in the football club. And now that we seem to be getting sorted off the pitch again, it'll be disastrous if we go down. That's my biggest worry, that we've started now to sort ourselves off the pitch, that the on the pitch has probably just caught up with us and it's too late.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get to that point. Don't forget, everyone listening to West Yorkshire Football Show, reflecting on Town's draw, yes, against Bristol City. We are literally about a few people off 1,000 subscribers, so let's try and get it today on our Town Talk. That'd be amazing. And thanks for everyone's comments. Keep them coming in. Like I say, we're probably on for another 15-20 minutes just before Sunday lunch, before everybody can enjoy the rest of the weekend.
What is the Sunday lunch, by the way? Is it chicken?
Bit of chicken roast, yeah. Happy days.
Is it chicken?
A bit of lamb, but I'm not picky. So obviously we've had a comment here from Paul, and like last season, I think Huddersfield are going down to League One this time. I think obviously we're reflecting on this. Ian regularly contributor. Thanks, Ian, for listening. Penalty was very harsh. Naki would score at some point. I know you said that, didn't you, Steve, earlier?
Yeah.
Let's concentrate a little bit on the next couple of fixtures, and let's, without bigging them up too much, Steve, how important are they, do you think, for the club? You talk about it could be a massive effect for the club to potentially go down to League One. How critical are these two games for the, not the future of Huddersfield, let's not get too dramatic, but in terms of where Town can go next?
Yeah, well, Swansea's next up. Like I say, I hope that they're on the beach. They've had a bit of a weird season, Swansea, where they've kind of come close to the relegation zone, but then moved back away. They've flirted with it and thought, no, it's not for them. So we'll win a few more fixtures and finish mid-table. So I don't really know what's going to turn up with Swansea, because I'm hoping they have a bad day. They're still a passing side, not as much as what they have been, but they do like to control possession. They've changed a little bit under the current manager. They've gone away from the sort of 90% control and not doing anything with it that was under Russell Martin, who's now doing that at Southampton. But we need to win. We need to win. I mean, like yesterday, so we didn't play a striker. We played Bergzorg again up top, who isn't a striker. And we, he did all right yesterday, did Bergzorg, by the way. Like, I don't think anybody can criticise his performance yesterday, because he did play well. Again, he didn't make the right decisions at certain times, but he put effort in, chased back, and yeah, after the comments that were made on Tuesday night, he showed a bit of gumption and got stuck in. And I was listening to the Stoke City TV commentary, and they were impressed by him. So I would like to see Reece Healy start a game. I mean, I know Andre's come out and said that he can only do 30 minutes, but just push it through, lads. Like, we've got 3 games left. Like, whatever you can put in, just go and put it in. Because like Reece Healy could be a catalyst for scoring some goals in this team. I've liked him when he's come on. He's looked bright. We've got Radulovic there on the bench. Ward was on the bench again, didn't bring him on. So just get some strikers on the pitch against Swansea. Go for it. And just try and take the initiative. Like, you've got 3 games to save your skins, and then the week after, we play Birmingham, and that could be an emotionally difficult game. But what I am glad is it's at home, and if everybody gets behind the lad, if we go into the Birmingham game and we know if we beat Birmingham, we've only got 1 fixture then away at Ipswich, and I'm hoping that the promotion race is done and dusted. Ipswich have got 2nd place. Leeds are in the playoffs, and that means that Ipswich can put out their sort of under 12 team or whatever, and that means that we can go into that fixture with a bit of hope. But I'm hoping that after the Birmingham game, if we've beaten Birmingham, things will get sorted. We just need to get behind the lads these next 2 home games. They're the biggest home games we've had since last season. Against Sheffield United, normally you say it's the biggest home games you've had for a few years, but we tend to have these home games every single season, Lou. And if we stay up, please, touch wood, thank God that we don't have a season like this again, because I just can't take it, mate.
How you look at it as well from the fixtures that are happening around yourselves as well, which is on paper. I mean, listen, it's silly seasoning in the Championship. We talk about top and bottom, but we look at fixtures happening very shortly. Sheffield Wednesday, their next game's a Blackburn away. We've seen what Blackburn did yesterday, but they've been down struggling. I think Stoke have got Plymouth at home. I think Birmingham are away at Rotherham. Like I say, results can happen at any point in the season, but let's be realistic. You look on paper, you've got to win the next game, haven't you? Because you can't be going into that Birmingham game having to play catch up with possibly 6 points behind.
we've got to beat Swansea. We've got to hope Rotherham turn up against Birmingham, or it's a draw. I mean, I'd take a draw between Birmingham and Rotherham. And then the others, it's just a dogfight, like you say, like, you know, Plymouth and Stoke. I mean, Plymouth winning at Leicester, I mean, that could keep them up, that result on its own, really, with the confidence that they'll get from that. Stoke have entered a bit of a weird period again. Blackburn, you know, beating Leeds, I mean, that's the same as Plymouth beating Leicester. I was hoping that the Blackburn games would be certain to send them down, really, but I don't know now. I think they could easily go to Leicester on the last day and beat them with the way Leicester are playing. I just feel that I don't like to be negative, Lou, but unfortunately I feel like we're coming to the end of an era with Town, and the next one needs the end of an era of this period of, I don't want to say a golden age of Town, because it's obviously the majority of the time we've been battling against relegations. But, you know, to go from League One, where we've been in League One for 11 years and been, you know, for 6 of them mediocrity, mid-table in League One, to then Dean Oyle taking over, getting the club promoted, but it took 3 years to get out of that league when he took over the club. So we don't want to go down to League One and end up being in a mediocrity, middle of the road League One team again. That is just not an option, really. And I think Kevin will put some money behind Andre, but it's harder in League One because the players that you're trying to attract don't want to go down to that level, unfortunately. I mean, you know that in non-league it works very similar, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah, and that was going to be one question. I know some of the contributors who were commenting exactly that. Ian, if Town do go down, how would they look in League One financially, playing wise? Would there need to be a big turnover in players? And I know Paul's come back on that as well, saying, obviously the void between it is huge. You know, people expect big clubs to bounce back, but it rarely happens. Would you believe, as a Town fan and somebody who kind of, you know, is very knowledgeable about Town and a local area, would you expect Kevin Nagle to allow the club to get into almost a mid-table League One team if the worst was to happen?
No, his mentality would be, I want to win the league. But that's easier said than done in League One. We, you know, Portsmouth have been trying to get out of that league for 5 years. And, you know, they yesterday they had a chance to beat Bolton and drew and still didn't get out of it. So, I mean, I think they will now eventually. They'll probably win the next game and go up. But, you know, League One's a battle. It's so different to the Championship. So in the Championship, you've got like 3 tiers. You've got your top, you've got your middle, and you've got your bottom. And the bottom's a dogfight. And it can drag a few of these middle teams in, but eventually the middle just becomes a bit boring. And then you've got your top 6, sort of 8, who are battling for promotion. In League One, you have literally 2 divisions. You have the bottom of League One, and they're all crap. And you have the top of League One, and it's an absolute dogfight. And in 2009, like, I remember when we went up in 2012, like that period of 2009 to 2012, you have Millwall, Southampton, Forest, Leeds, Brentford, Brighton. You know, you like Burnley. You had some absolute big hitters, Lou, and I'm talking big football clubs, and Charlton. You know, so if we go down, you have to think Rotherham, they'll probably be up there, depending on who goes up. Peterborough, Oxford are now a good club there, Barnsley, you know. So again, whilst it maybe isn't as powerful as the football clubs that were back sort of 15 years ago, it's a difficult league to get out of, you know, and like Peterborough's a good example. They may fail to go up, and you've just got to the type of football that you can play in League One isn't the prettiest, and you've got to be able to adapt. And at the moment, this squad that we've got wouldn't get promoted from League One. It wouldn't.
I'm going to ask you literally took the words out of my my mouth fed. I was going to ask if that team was to go down in a moment. How would it fare in League One?
It's not mentally strong enough. Wouldn't get in the playoffs.
Right.
That's the God's honest truth. It's not mentally strong enough. This squad needs wiping out and starting again. It's just mentally shot from all the times it's had to battle relegation. I think players like Tom Lees and Matty Pearson could come back into the squad. I think Nichols will go because he won't want to play League One. I think Hellick, somebody will buy Hellick. I mean, Hellick could be the best centre back in League One. He just would. Thomas will go. So a lot of these players will I don't think they won't go for big money because I don't know who's going to take them. But Jack Radoni, I think, will go. It just needs a massive clear out and starting again, and that's going to take a bit of money. That's the thing, Lou. It's going to take 6, 7, 8 million to get it sorted. And obviously Kevin's come out and said he's ready to put his hand in his pocket, but that's what he'll need to do.
Do you think Andre will get the support he needs from the likes of Kevin to either, if you stay in the Championship, to build and not have the few seasons you have done in recent years, or if, like I say, the worst case scenario was to happen, there's enough support and the structures and infrastructures in place to get yourselves back into the playoffs and get promoted at this moment in time?
I think the football side needs a lot of work. I think the medical department needs a lot of work as well. Far too many injuries and long layoffs. So I don't know, and that's been the same way for a couple of years now. But yeah, the footballing side needs some work. We don't seemingly seem to buy players that can go on and make us millions like Coventry have, like Peterborough are very good at doing, like Crewe at a lower level are very good at doing. We don't do that, so that needs to be improved. There's a lot of pressure on Mark Cartwright if we go down. He talks about his experience and his know-how and his contacts. Well, we haven't seen that so far. So if we go down, we need to see a bit more of it. I don't know how you view teams in divisions, but I think if we go down, we're one of the bigger football clubs in there. I know that doesn't mean anything really, because you've got Bournemouth in the Premier League and Luton in the Premier League. But I would say that Town are a big football club in League One, and I think we'll be seen as a bit of a scalp.
I think to an extent, yes. I'm in the opinion where sometimes, clubs can be big in inverted commas, but for me, I think the definition of it just gets lost in translation a lot nowadays. This sounds really harsh because I'm talking on a Town podcast. I think probably
Town fans get into it.
Get stuck into me. I think Town are probably traditionally like a bottom end Championship, probably League One club, which is probably about where they should be at the moment. I think what hurts, like you said, Steve, is that you're finding yourself in the same predicament nearly enough every season, and I think you've said it, and for me, you've hit the nail on the head with a lot of stuff. You just get tired of a situation. I think in League One with clubs that potentially coming up, you only look at Wrexham, you look at Stockport, who are coming up. I don't see them potentially struggling in League One. I'm not saying they're going to go for playoffs, but I think they'll be steady away.
I think they'll be all right. I don't see them cruising in League One like they have in League Two. I agree. I actually think Stockport will do better than Wrexham next year because I think they've got the Football League knowledge.
Possibly. I think, you look at the likes of Wigan will want to do a bit better next season. Stevenage have had a wow this season. Can they keep that up? I mean, like you say, there's potentially one at the moment of maybe Blackpool, Oxford, Barnsley, Peterborough,
Lincoln,
possibly Bolton that don't go up. So, and that's, they're the teams like you mentioned earlier who are doing well, and you'd expect them to be up there. I think from the teams coming down, like I say, Rotherham are notoriously your club anyway. So there's no doubt that they'll be somehow in the playoffs, whatever the situation is. And I think whoever else goes down will be, I think it was to Paul's point earlier, will be hoping to try and get back up, but it's not that easy. I think League One is you're right. There is almost like two separate divisions within one division. I think what will be interesting from the outside looking in is if Town were to go down, how big does Kevin and the board go on it? Do they want instant success and get straight back up there? Because if that's the case, I'll be honest with you, I think it probably needs more than 7 million to possibly get back up, because you've got to get back up and then you've got to establish yourself back in the Championship, which is going to be even tougher with those teams that are going up and potentially coming down from the Premier League. So I don't know. I think it looks not desperate, but it looks a real tricky situation that I think Kevin and the guys find themselves in, because you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is now. And like you said, it seems to be that the squad kind of does need to clear the decks. You know, even in the Championship, you're going to have to recruit a different kind of player, like you mentioned earlier, from League One to the Championship. And I think, yeah, to that point, yeah, I agree, Paul. And I think Paul makes another comment earlier. He says, you know, the thing is with Andre, we've got to give him time as a player, we're not his. I absolutely 100% agree with that. And I think, you know, there is a tendency nowadays where clubs are quite trigger happy to get rid of managers. In terms of that kind of comment there from Paul and Ian, to be fair, how long would Andre get in League One if the worst case scenario, or even the Championship? Let's be honest, even the Championship, if Town were to possibly start the season in the first 10 games and maybe win hypothetically 2 or 3, how long would Andre get to turn things around? Would he be given a full season? Would he be given until Christmas to prove himself? What do Town fans going to think of him?
So I think overall we like him more than we do Darren Moore. I think he's done some things well and he's done some things not so well, and there are some strange decisions like substitutions which I don't really get. But then again, he's working with a squad, as we've seen in the comments, that isn't really his. So he's only adapting to what he's got to work with, and what he's got to work with, Lou, is not great at all. In League One, it's a different kettle of fish, because if we go down, I believe that the role has to be, we have to get back up at the first attempt. I don't think we can be in League One for 3, 4, 5 years. I just don't. That doesn't sit with Kevin. That doesn't sit with his aspirations. So I think if we go down, it's going to be a case of we need to get straight back up. So if we start off in League One badly, I don't think Andre will be at the club very long.
Okay.
In the Championship, it's a different kettle of fish, because it depends what squad he's got to work with. If in the summer, if we stay up, the squad gets cleared out and he brings a load of people in like Wagner did, and we have a cracking start to the season, great. If he lose, like you say, if he only wins 2 or 3, I think you've got to stick with him for a little bit. I think you can't just go gunging. You know, over the last 2 seasons, we've had 3 managers per season. I mean, that's just mad. Just you know, chaos in football clubs doesn't end well, does it? We know that. So I think it's different in the Championship. You've got to give him a little bit longer. You know, you gave Darren Moore 21 games and he won 3. I don't see Andre like beating that record, do you? I mean, that you know, there were things in Darren Moore's tenure that, you know, we like away at Wednesday for the first game, and it's against his old football club, and he's delighted with the draw. And Wednesday, I think, bottom at the time. You know, it just speaks volumes about how his tenure was going to go. So for me, I think if whatever happens, whether we go down or we stay up, the majority of this squad needs to go for their own human benefit and for the club's benefit. Because some of these lads need a different challenge anyway. You know, I think just for their own mental health, to be honest.
Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned it about Andre, and you know him better than me because you've met him, you've interviewed him. I know he's a friend of the show, so I'm going to put this out there. How long does Kevin stay around if success doesn't happen quickly? Do you think he's in it for the long haul, or do you think it's one of those situations where if he doesn't get instant success, then something changes potentially? Hopefully not, because it seems to be, from comments and listening to you guys, that, you know, a lot of people are fully behind Kevin and he seems to be doing, you know, the right thing by Town. but there comes to a point where, you know, success is pretty imminent, isn't it, for somebody to stick around?
Yeah, I think he's in it for long haul. He come out and said that enough times for me to be able to believe that. I've met him. He comes across as a guy that doesn't sort of say one thing to somebody and another thing to somebody else. I think he's pretty straight. I think he's a smart businessman. You don't make the amount of money he has with the connections he has without being a smart businessman.
Yeah.
The problem is, and I know he doesn't like this, where people get on his back about him being a Yank and an American, and I don't think that's all to do with it. What I do think it is that football in this country is not it's not a pastime. It's not just, where you go, sit there, have a good time, whether you lose, win or draw. It's a business. Football is one of the biggest industry businesses in this country, and it's a proper dirty business, and you've got to get it right, and you've got to be tough in it, and you've got to be mentally strong, whether you're an owner, a supporter, a player or a manager. And I don't know how long he'll want to have that struggle, because it's not just as easy as building a team, and you can't just build a team and have success like we did in 2016 on very little money. Those miracles happen once every 50 years, 60 years. So I just feel that he'll be with us for a long time, but his plans will dramatically change if we go down, because they'll have to, because the amount of, he won't be able to put season tickets up. I think that'd just be madness if he put them up if we went down. Commercially, obviously, it changes because you don't have the big brands coming to your football club as much, because obviously there's no TV deals really. I mean, how many League One games has there been on TV this year? Not many, I don't think, has there?
No, it's not like Leeds United.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not Leeds United Sky TV. So it's difficult, isn't it? I think. I don't think he wants to be in League One. I think he wants to be in the Championship with a touch of chance of getting to the Premier League. And what I will say is, I think off the pitch and on the pitch, I think we'll see a lot of changes in the summer. I just do, because I don't think he's been impressed with what he's seen over a prolonged period with the times that he's come over to visit. I think he's seen enough. You up?
What changes do you think those might be?
Just behind the scenes, mate. I think he's already started making changes to internal staff, to the way processes happen in the football club, to how the football club thinks. There's a lot of people that are town downers, because we're typical Yorkshire people that are quite dour. So I think the attitude change will have already hopefully started to take effect within the football club. Bigging themselves up for a change, wanting to move forward, trying new things, opening the academy. Can we do this on a match day? Can we do that on a match day to improve fan experience, support the way that supporters engage with us in the shop or in the ticket office? So I think there's a number of things that have started to happen this season already, but obviously some of these things take a little bit longer than others. The stadium issue is the stadium issue, and that's not going to be sorted anytime soon. I've talked with Cal, I've talked on the podcast about that before. That is out of Kevin's control, unfortunately. You've got a council that are just, it's a British council, isn't it? It's they've been the same for about 1,000 years, haven't they? British councils, they move about as fast as me on a football pitch. So I don't see that being resolved anytime soon. So the big things are going to take time. The littler things that he can involve himself in, I think, will change pretty quickly, and that includes staff members. I think there'll be a big turnover of staff over the next year or two, for sure.
Okay. Well, just finally, one more question before we wrap up, and you can try and enjoy the rest of your weekend, Steve, after yesterday. And hopefully people listening as well might enjoy the rest of the weekend after being quite disappointed with what we've heard. There we go, Chris. Obviously part of a team. Andre will be solid for your reckon in either league. It's a squad that needs to be overhauled by him, which, like you said, Danzy, you've made that comment really early on, which seems to be whatever division you're in, seems to be the case. Hopefully, Ian, Steve has answered your questions a bit about Kevin there. James, thanks for contributing, mate. Nigel says it's a given. He will still probably invest if we go down at least. So, like I said, it seems to be there's a lot of Town fans seem to be behind Kevin and Andre, which is a positive because that's the foundation to get going. So, finally, before we wrap up, Steve, prediction for Saturday. Obviously, massive game against Swansea at home. Hopefully the club maybe do something potentially to get some extra people into the stadium. Like I say, the stadium needs to be fully behind the players, though, but to get out of this predicament. How do you see it going?
Well, the first thing I'd do is I'd just go around every school in the area offering free tickets. Just fill the stands full of families and kids, because that's what we want to see. There's no point having empty seats in for these games, is there? So that's what I'd do straight off. My prediction, 5-0 Swansea. No, ultra positive. No, my prediction, my heart says 2-0 Town. Yeah, I'll go with 2-0 Town. 2-0
And you want to see him play some strikers.
I want to see us play some strikers. Ward, Radulovic, or Healy. Just one of them, Andre. Just one. I'm only asking. We're not asking for a lot. Just play one of the strikers. That would be fantastic. Sad about Hoggy being injured as well. Any Town fan that's slagging Hog off needs to go have a look at themselves in the mirror. We bought him for 400 grand in 2013. He's now done 10 years with us. I think he's paid his dues back.
There we go. That's Steve Downs for you. So if you're listening, Andre, and Town fans, play some strikers and get off Hoggy's back. Right, we'll wrap up for today. So thanks everyone for tuning in, for contributing, for commenting, for subscribing to our West Yorkshire Football Show. Like I say, we're still a few off 1,000. Don't forget,
daughters, sons, uncles, aunties.
All those that hopefully at Town on Saturday. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We will be back with our normal Monday roundup podcast tomorrow from about 8:15. Myself, Steve, Chris, Jason, Gaz, Dave, Chris, everyone else, every man and his dog. We'll be reflecting. Yeah, we'll be reflecting on everything that's happened. So obviously we will be touching on Town again. We will be touching obviously on Leeds. That's a different situation. Obviously Bradford City winning and a bit of an on-league roundup. So hopefully everyone can join us tomorrow. So with that, thanks. That's me and Steve done for this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, everybody. Up the Town.
Up the Town.